Okay, so we are almost finished. We're on the worksheet that's got the table. This should look pretty familiar because it's very similar to the quiz that you took, I think, Monday. They're giving us a function. They want us to find the start amount, the growth factor, growth or decay, the percent of increase, and then the time period. Now, there are two problems that have a little bit of an issue. I'll point those out. So if we look at number 1, I've got 422,000 times 1.2. Now, notice it doesn't have an exponent. So that's what I was pointing out. There's an issue. If there's not an exponent there, it's 1. So our start amount, our A, remember, A is the number in front of the one that's being raised to the power of x, or raised to the power of whatever. So for this problem, A is 422,000, and that's it. My growth decay factor, that's my B value. So my B value is what's in parentheses, what's being raised to the exponent. So that's 1.2. Now remember, if B is greater than 1, it's going to be growth. If B is less than 1, it's going to be decay. So for this one, since 1.2 is bigger than 1, it's going to be growth. I'm fine if you just put G for growth, D for decay. Now, to find the percent of increase, if it is growth, I'm going to take my B value and subtract 1. So 1.2 minus 1 is going to leave me with 0.2. Then I want to go back and make that a percent because that's what they're asking for. So I can take this 0.2 and multiply it by 100. When I do that, I'm going to get 20%. And then last thing, the time period, that's my exponent. So here, the exponent, the time period is just 1. All right, let's jump down to number 3. So number 3, I've got y equals 13,000 times 0.88 to the power of 7. My A is my starting amount, which is just 13,000. My B value, what's being raised to the exponent, what's in parentheses? 0.88. I have to decide if that's growth or decay. This is smaller than 1. If it's got a 0 in front of the decimal, it is going to be decay. If it's got a 1 in front of the decimal, it's going to be growth. So since this is decay, I'm going to have to do 1 minus whatever it is. So 1 minus 0.88 is going to give me 0.12. Multiply that by 100 to get your percent, so that is 12%. Then the time period here, my exponent is 7, so that would be our time period. So these should be pretty easy. We've done these a lot. You should feel fairly confident. There's only a couple more that I want us to look at on this paper. So number 10, you'll notice number 10 is a little bit different because of the fraction. However, when I start off, I'm still going to look at the starting amount. Starting amount is the number in front, so I start off with 7. My growth factor is 3/4. Now, if this messes you up, if it confuses you, just change the fraction into a decimal. So I would just put in my calculator 3 divided by 4, and that gives me the decimal 0.75. So that is the same thing as 0.75. Now, remember, as a rule of thumb, if the numerator is smaller than the denominator, it's going to be decay. But like I said, if it confuses you, just make it a decimal. So to find the percent, I'm going to have 1 minus 0.75, which is 0.25. Make that a percent by multiplying it by 100, and that is 25%. My time period is my exponent, which is 9. So these are super easy. You should feel very confident in these. The other one that I said there was a little, not really a mistake, but I just want to point it out to you so you don't get confused. Number 16, notice it doesn't have an exponent. It's just like number 1, the exponent would be 1. So anytime there's not an exponent there, we know that it's 1. So you will finish the rest of this paper. Now the last paper that you've got, it is 4 questions, 4 multiple choice, or 3 multiple choice with 1 graph. This is a very good review to prepare you for the test. You are responsible for these 4. You will turn these 4 in tomorrow. Remember, if you've got any questions, you will circle it, star it, whatever, ask me tomorrow. Any of the things that I've told you to circle as we went through this, I will be checking for. So just as a reminder, on that first paper you had 4, 5, 9, 10, and 12. So 5 problems on the first paper. The second one, I believe you only had 1 problem, number 5. Yeah, just number 5 on the second paper. The third one, you had to fill out that table, which should take you a whole 5 minutes to do. And the last one, which is your final review to prepare you for the test tomorrow. So there is a good reason why I picked all these questions. They should really help you tomorrow for the test. If you study and if you look over everything, there is no reason why you shouldn't do well. What I will do, if I'm able to, you'll find out in just a minute if I've got the papers. I'm going to try to upload these videos online to my website. If I am able to, I'll print out the link to give to you all. So when you go home, if you're studying and you forget how to do it, you can look back at those videos. There are Delta Math assignments on exponential functions. I don't have those set to be finished, completed until next week because I haven't been able to give you enough class time. But if you go home and you want to practice these problems, there are Delta Math assignments up there to help you practice. If you are on Remind, you get home and you've got a question, you can send me a message. If I'm able to, I'll respond back. Just make sure that you study, and there's no reason why you shouldn't do well. I'll see you tomorrow.